Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. The Election Commission of India has kicked off the enumeration phase of the Special Intensive Revision of Electoral Rolls SIR 2.0 across 12 states and union territories starting Tuesday, 4th of November. Now, this large-scale exercise will cover nearly 51 crore voters across Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Kerala, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Goa, Gujarat, Puducherry and the union territories of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, also the Lakshadweep. Notably, 4 of these, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, West Bengal and Puducherry, are heading for assembly elections in 2026. Under SIR 2.0, the enumeration stage runs till the 4th of December. The draft electoral rolls will be released on the 9th of December, followed by a 1-month window, which is till the 8th of January, for citizens to file claims and objections. After scrutiny and verification, the final electoral rolls will be published on the 7th of February 2026. So how will this massive revision unfold on the ground? What's new this time, especially after the learnings from Bihar? And how is the Election Commission preparing for cleaner, more accurate and inclusive voter rolls? To discuss this, I'm joined by 2 distinguished guests. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome on the program today Mr. Akshay Raut, former Director General, Election Commission of India, and Dr. Sunil Chaudhary, Professor of Political Science, University of Delhi. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. Welcome to Sansad TV. Mr. Rawat, let's begin the program today with you. SIR 2.0 is being called one of the most extensive, most elaborate revision exercises, given its scale, because it covers 12 states and union territories. What makes this phase particularly significant for the Election Commission from the perspective of making the electoral rolls in India more transparent, inclusive, and most importantly, credible?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to the discussion. This is no surprise. When Bihar happened, it was to happen in the rest of the country. And now with the 12 states in which it rolls out today, the SIR would have covered 1/3 of the whole country. And I'm sure in the next phases, there will be other states who will join in. And the SIR will be completed in due course in the complete electorate of India. Yes, Bihar has given certain learnings. There was more anxiety and excitement, some suspense when Bihar happened. But let's not forget that in the June 24 order of Election Commission of India, there was already the foundation, the fact that most states are going to be covered. Right. At that time, the commission had mentioned that the intensive revision in the entire country, and I'm quoting it, and they only said that the schedule will be notified separately, which it has been done now. But coming to these 12 states for which the enumeration part, the first phase of it rolls out today itself, no 2 state elections are the same in India. So I would say the same thing for SIR, that no 2 SIRs will be the same. Bihar has its challenges because it was the maiden approach after, say, more than 2 decades, right, about 20 years. So it is, in fact, let's not forget history. Do we understand that it is only the 9th SIR in India's 75-year electoral history, and the first one after more than 2 decades. So naturally, there has to be a certain amount of surprise. But as the Election Commission has made it clear, as it has been decided after a lot of debates, contestations, protests in and outside Parliament, and more importantly, in the Supreme Court, in the apex court of the country, that it is one of the constitutionally mandated jobs of Election Commission of India to do a roll revision in the manner it thinks it is required or correct. It is not only entitled to do it, but under Article 324, even before we go to the conduct of election, the maintenance of electoral roll, of which the purification is the essential part.
Absolutely.
So that's also a duty of the ECI, and that's what it has been done in Bihar. So what makes it a little more problematic or a little more challenging or a little more of concern for some political parties is that the deletion part, is certainly a very natural part of purification. It is, in fact, the more natural part because such a surgery. Okay, let me give. I always like to give this imagery because I find it appropriate. In terms of if you have a particular level of sickness, you sometimes go for just paracetamol. In another level of sickness, you go for antibiotics. In some level of sickness, you go for surgery, to get rid of the disease or the infection. Similarly, SIR is a bit of deep dive compared to, say, annual summary revision or pre-election revision, because the intention is the same: clean the electoral roll and purify. But just imagine if the election commission assesses, it's not for you and me or even for a political party. It is for the
I think I
election
absolutely
commission.
agree, Mr. Rawat, that for the health of the Indian democracy, it's important for our electoral rolls to be accurate, inclusive, and transparent.
Absolutely.
We'll discuss on the
Absolutely.
challenges and some of the procedural changes that the Election Commission has incorporated in SIR 2.0. But let me go across to Professor Chaudhary, get in also his perspective on some of the successes that the Election Commission has seen in Bihar and which has helped in making SIR 2.0 more confident. So, Professor Chaudhary, the Election Commission itself has described the Bihar exercise as a proof of concept for the SIR second phase. Based on your observation, what were some of the biggest successes that the Election Commission saw in Bihar through the SIR exercise that now make this large-scale rollout? We are talking about 12 states and union territories, more structured.
No, we must also understand that Election Commission being a constitutional body, it's not a political organization. And one of the important functions of the Election Commission is superintendence, direction and control of elections, right from Parliament to the President of India. So the most crucial challenge and what actually the political parties witnessed for the first time, that this special revision we call SIR took place after a gap of more than 2 decades. So, and somehow this special revision is connected with the delimitation of constituencies. So the first survey which took place in 2001, based on that, the SIR got conducted. It was the year 2008, and I think that was the 8th, 2002 to 2004, when the 8th SIR was conducted. So after 2 decades, there was no news, only the annual, assessment review or revision used to take place, which was more concerned about, inclusion of names and deletion of names. So there was no intensive revision. People did not see intensive revision. So for the first time, the people witnessed it, and political parties make people to witness it, that this special revision is somehow has more political overtones than constitutional necessity. So that make the Bihar SIR more challengeable. But I feel this 98 days exercise in Bihar, as far as SIR is concerned, actually with initial hiccups, initial protests, initial, setbacks, more political than constitutional. I mean, Election Commission comes out without any, shortcomings, without any appeals, without any objections. And when that final list was published by Election Commission of India, one could see that there was 0 appeals against it. That shows that initial hiccups, initial challenges, initial criticism actually started dying down. That shows the credibility of the Election Commission. And what I see that these initial challenges actually made Election Commission to make it more simplified. So this second phase of it, you call 2.0 SIR, that is based more on, simplification, which has got 3 important notions. One is enumeration phase, which doesn't need any formal documentations. Then you see the verification phase, and finally the publication phase. All these 3 phases, which would take around 103 days of the process, would actually has tried to make the system more simplified. And I still believe, except one of the 2 states where the position is more political than electoral, I believe that this exercise would get massive, support across parties and citizens. And I would say that Election Commission challenge is how to ensure it more credible, more fair, more transparent, and as you rightly stated, more inclusive.
You're right. And we've seen how in Bihar, when the exercise was rolled out, it became a political flashpoint. There were parties which alleged deletions, manipulations on part of the Election Commission. And the ultimate result did reflect that these allegations were far from reality. But that's another part of the debate, because that's something that we will also see happening in more and more states. We've already seen that begun in the state of Tamil Nadu. The DMK has already protested, and perhaps it may go to court. The Election Commission will be preparing on that front also, but that's for another time. Coming back to the changes and the challenges, I'll take that back to Mr. Rawat on some of the procedural changes that has led to the Election Commission tweaking some of the rules in SIR 2.0 exercise, and part two of the question on the challenges aspect, because on the ground there are some challenges, especially when you talk about 51 crore voter records. That's the number of electorate in these 12 states and union territories. So what are the challenges, especially if we take into account the rural, the remote areas, not to forget the urban migrant areas of the country?
The one point that you mentioned yourself is about the scale. 51 crore electors and 12 states and union territories. Let's not undermine the states which are not speaking, political parties are not speaking from there loudly yet. UP, for example, just imagine the size of UP and what SIR entails there with its socio-economic complexities. And we have small union territories and states, Goa, Puducherry and all that. And then we have states where some type of ideological opposition is surfacing, like West Bengal and Tamil Nadu, etc. We have states where literacy and other levels are pretty high, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and some places where it is so low. So every state is likely, though we may say that Bihar has taught us extraordinarily good lessons and is going to be smooth sailing, but I am not sure if there will not be any humps and bumps. But Election Commission, by two things: by its extraordinary skills and experience, and secondly, by empathy for the voter, I'm sure it is going to overcome it. And then, of course, the other challenge will be I think those will be minor challenges. There will be some protests and some type of opposition to SIR, some few more court cases, but the Supreme Court has come loud and clear about the legitimacy of SIR. So I'm not finding too much problem on this. That will subside. In fact, if my information is correct, parties, instead of while talking stop SIR on one way and some grandstanding which cannot be avoided politically, they're also preparing how to make the best of the situation, best of the SIR, by engaging their political agents at the booth level to make sure that they get benefits out of SIR. This process is already on. And mind you, what has given Election Commission maximum confidence in rolling out 2.0 is not the Supreme Court judgment or not its own constitutional mandate, but the fact there are two things. One is there have been zero appeal in Bihar. There has not been too many complaints at all. Right. Second is that the political parties at the ground level were associated with the process. Whatever the leaders at the topmost level might say, but at the ground level, Election Commission needs to work with the political workers, and it could get their collaboration, and that's how it worked. I'm sure that in one way or the other, in these 12 states and union territories, this will happen. Ground level collaboration between political parties, workers, functionaries, officials, and Election Commission's officials, which are typically booth level officers and EROs, AEROs, district election officer. There is a massive number of polling stations which are going to be involved in this, and massive crores and crores of booth level political party agents and crores of booth level officers. So it's a matter of scale. Bihar was challenging because it is initial, but the rest is not going to be very smooth because it's going to be a lot of work at least. But I'm sure Election Commission, with 75 years of gold standard of heritage in managing affairs of elections, including the electoral roll, will see it through. Political parties will gradually understand the importance of their getting associated, because mind you, Tina, there is a decentralized structure of election management which responds to grievances and it has checks and balances. So political parties will do well, and they have done well in Bihar by going to those structures rather than everything ending up with Nirvachan Sadan in Delhi. So I'm
Absolutely.
sure it's going to be.
This current phase will also impact the political strategies of political parties in states which will go to polls next year. But amid the accusations, the allegations of doubts, deletions, manipulations, Professor Chaudhary, why is it important to make the people of this country understand the importance of a clean electoral data? How can the government or the Election Commission or the other agencies involved in making our electoral rolls clean and inclusive, how can they make people understand that faulty, outdated voter data impacts voter confidence, it impacts the voter turnout, and ultimately it raises questions on the legitimacy of our electoral system and the elections?
You see that at the level of the electors and citizens as voters, I think the problem doesn't stem from there, because it's this insider-outsider duality, which means the electors who are legitimate voters of the constituencies and those who are ineligible, that is the outsiders. So the entire debate is about how to ensure all the eligible voters, because the election commission main focus is that no eligible voters are left out, and secondly, no ineligible voters to be included. So based on this insider outsider duality, I think this is a reflective of the citizens than the parties, because it's an annual exercise. Citizens are more concerned about their names to be added, specifically those who are the young voters, the first-time voters, those who complete 18 years of age and above. So the more important concern for the voters is that their name should be included. However, it has been made more political, because over the period, you can see that when the last SIR took place in 2002 to 2004, there are many migrants who have come to stay there as citizens, because infiltrating into India, getting access to the Aadhaar card and other identities made them actually the voters in the previous 2 decades, where there was no intensive revision. Now this intensive revision is carried out, and now Election Commission is actually making clear that no outsiders, no ineligible voters should be allowed to cast votes in democracy, because the destiny of democracy is determined by the eligible citizens, eligible electors. That makes, because these ineligible voters, hopefully the migrants, are the somehow political stews of those parties which are now claiming that their name should be included, or they should stay as part of the electoral process. Here comes the controversy. Had this SIR taken place, say 10 years back, this controversy could not have come out. And as far as simplification of the process is concerned, Election Commission has made it categorically clear that if your name is get included in 2002 to 2004 list, so there is no need to show your document. There is no need to verification documents. So no collection of documents as part of verification. So the process is very, very simplified. This focuses more on those, specifically those neighboring states where one could see a large number of infiltrators has taken place over the past 2 decades or so. So this makes a challenging them for those political parties which claim that these voters actually are their voters. I fail to understand, when this process actually has been going on, how can one be very sure that these voters whose names are there, whose names are illegally be there, can claim that these voters belong to them. So the entire opposition to the SIR exercise, which we witnessed, this vote chori incident, vote chori discourse in Bihar or as part of the country.
You're right,
it's difficult to understand it.
But part of the solution lies not just in dismissing these doubts and concerns, but in allaying the doubts. One criticism, Mr. Rawat, is around the wrongful deletions, of course, raised by political parties, especially of the elderly and the migrant voters. Now, the Election Commission, it is the responsibility of the Election Commission of India to ensure that you allay all such doubts which are prevailing in different parts of the country. So in that context, how is the second phase of the SIR balancing cleansing the rolls with preventing that the citizens are not disenfranchised?
In fact, the whole problem starts if we bring in political issues or more sociological issues like infiltration and disenfranchisement. I think these two, both sides, are political statements in a way. And these help to have a political agenda. I look at this as more a technical and professional exercise. In an exercise like this, deletion, let's not use the word exclusion, please. Deletion is very natural. Why? Because the electoral roll has a huge burden of dead, completely migrated, duplicated voters, and those who are completely absent in the location after even check. Okay, so what will have to be done? They have to be deleted. Let's not say that they're excluded. Look at the experience of 65 lakh names in Bihar. Mostly they belong to this category, not even the category of the other type which is mentioned in politically. Now, the one thing is that Article 326, one thing conceptually has come into focus with this SIR more because it talks about who is an elector. Citizen of India, 18-year-old, ordinarily resident, otherwise not disqualified under law. Okay, so these are to be maintained for to be an elector. But till today, that was not mentioned so strongly. But this has to be when there is an enumeration, when there is a special intensive survey, it has to be done that way only. So that is precisely being done. And so there should not be any extraordinary political heat over it. It should be taken as a cool, technical, professional exercise, and election managers should be allowed to do their job. Now you said how it is possible for the people who are on the margin. You see, India has a beautiful system of BLOs, booth level officers. If there is a booth level officer for each constituency, not each constituency, each polling booth. Like there are 91,000 in Bihar. There are several crores in the states which are going to elections. So they handle largely about 1,000 electors in their own polling booth area. And they are supposed to be in regular touch in terms of death, birth, even social functions. He or she is a known person and is always connected with people. So, and you see the facilitation efforts by DCI. A BLO in the time of enumeration phase, which begins today, has to go at least thrice before even saying that someone is not absent. Yeah. Because there's an empathy that, okay, a guy might have gone out on some work or must be absent for some valid reasons. So let's have 3 times the effort. And no document is to be collected, as Dr. Chaudhary was also mentioning, you mentioned. And that is the biggest change that has happened because the document in India, particularly people who live on the margins of the society in the hinterland, despite the digital expansion, document simplification, still a document is scary for a lot of people. Where to get the document, So now this has been exempted in the enumeration.
And I think not just those on the margins, Mr. Rawat, even those citizens, those voters who are unfamiliar with the digital systems might feel excluded. So how are we ensuring that they are also made part of the exercise? How are we making use of technology in this entire revision of electoral rolls process?
No, the technology, those who are technology efficient, the urban people, the youngsters, and most of the families, I think technology has penetrated well in India. They can do things online. But I think we are talking the BLO system, the touch and feel. Because just imagine, election is the only commodity which is delivered at home. Which is delivered. Because in India, all said and done, I always believe that election is a push factor. You have to push and tell people that, okay, it's your country, it's your democracy, come and vote. And so we are now gradually trying to increase our registration and voters percentage, and the results have been good in recent years. But there is a political agenda, there is a management agenda in this, which makes it possible. We have now come to 65% turnout, but still it is much less than what we would like to have. In this situation, Tina, we cannot afford to tell the voter that, okay, you want to vote, prove your identity, give a document. So that huge modification has been done thanks to Election Commission of India, and there is some amount of nudging by the court and public domain. So the election is a learning experience. Over the period we learn, and this is a great benefit to the people. And only those whose names cannot be matched either by themselves or by their family history with the last SIR, they will be notified duly and very much in a public glare. They will be notified and there will be a discussion whether they are eligible or not eligible to be included. And that will be done by the electoral registration officer of the area. It's a very transparent process. And I'll just put my last point, because you talked about inclusion, addition, and regular enrollment, which is one of the objectives, secondly, of the electoral roll management. Do you know that in Bihar, 14 lakh new electors have been enrolled?
Yes.
14 lakhs. And 1 out of the 4 in the electoral roll of Bihar are below 29 years of age. So our electoral rolls are duly youthful. And because of the 4 cutoff points in new enrollment, youngsters who are above 18 are able to enroll. And mind you, this time also BLO, in this SIR, will always have 3 forms with him or her. Form 6 for enrollment, for 7 for deletion, Form 8 for change of address. So let's not say that SIR has already overtaken our normal election facilitation. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so before we wrap up the conversation, one last comment very quickly, Professor Chaudhary, from you. Based on the experience that we've seen in Bihar, now the exercise is being conducted in 12 states and union territories. The Election Commission definitely is looking at a nationwide SIR to make the electoral rolls cleaner and more inclusive, as we've spoken about. But the challenge, of course, before the poll body is to ensure that this procedure, it's being driven by technology, but it needs to be made more trustworthy and one which is not attacked and questioned time and again by the political parties.
That focus should be shifted from political to electoral, because it's a licensing between the Election Commission on the one hand and electoral on the other. So I would just go ahead with what Rawatji has stated. It is not only the push factor, but I will say it's a pull factor. Mm-hmm. So both pull factor from Election Commission side to push factor from the BLAs and BLOs will be making this kind of system more credible. And I think the last point is that we used to see that a film used to say, to serve with love and respect. This is how the Selection Commission gains the confidence, credibility, fairness, inclusion of the electors of India.
Absolutely. So with that, we'll wrap up this conversation. Time allows us to take up only that much on the program. Thank you once again, Professor Chaudhary, Mr. Rawat, for joining us with your insights on this very, very pertinent topic. That's it from us, viewers, on this edition of Perspective. Thank you very much for your time as well.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.